The royal family has finally done it. After years of drama, public feuds, and endless speculation, palace sources are confirming what millions have been waiting to hear. Harry and Meghan have been officially cut off. No reconciliation, no royal return, no Project Thaw. The establishment plot to bring them back into the fold has been destroyed, and the fallout is absolutely explosive. Richard Eden at the Daily Mail dropped a bombshell report revealing the jaw-dropping details of what insiders are calling Project Thaw. This was supposedly a coordinated effort backed by senior politicians and royal courtiers to warm up the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's frosty relationship with the rest of the royal family and with the British public. The plan involves strategic public appearances, carefully orchestrated photo opportunities, and a full-blown charm offensive designed to make everyone forget the past few years of chaos. But here's the thing, it's all fallen apart spectacularly. Sources close to the palace are now saying the royal family has no intention of welcoming Harry and Meghan back. None whatsoever. The bridges aren't just burned, they've been obliterated. King Charles has apparently given his blessing for a complete ice out, and Prince William has already put the mechanics in place with the government to strip their titles the moment he takes the throne. This isn't speculation anymore. This is happening. The so-called Project Thaw was meant to culminate in Meghan returning to Britain before the year is out, bearing humble pie and ready to make amends. Friends of the California couple were leaking stories about reconciliation, about healing, about moving forward, but palace insiders are calling it what it really is, a desperate publicity stunt, a last-ditch effort to stay relevant, a fantasy that was never going to become reality. What makes this even more shocking is the timing. Meghan just made her grand appearance at Paris Fashion Week, rubbing shoulders with Anna Wintour and the European fashion elite. That trip was supposed to be part of the thaw process, a carefully planned move to show her mingling with high society and being embraced by the cultural establishment. Palace sources are now revealing that this was all part of the plot. Get Meghan looking glamorous and accepted in Europe, then slowly ease her back into British public life. Except the British public isn't having it. Not even close. The numbers don't lie. Recent polling from YouGov shows that Harry and Meghan remain the least popular members of the royal family. The only person less popular than them is Prince Andrew, and that's saying something considering his scandals. Over 90% of British people want their titles taken away. The people of Sussex themselves are questioning why these two even have a title associated with their county when they haven't set foot there in years. The writing is on the wall, and it's written in capital letters. The royal family is done with them. So what exactly is Project Thaw, and why was it supposed to be the golden ticket back into royal life? According to Richard Eden's investigation, this wasn't just some casual idea floating around. This was a full-blown establishment plot involving senior politicians, royal courtiers, and powerful figures behind the scenes. The goal was simple but ambitious. Warm up Harry and Meghan's ice-cold relationship with the royal family and convince the British public to give them another chance. The name itself tells you everything. Project Thaw, because after years of public attacks, explosive interviews, and tell-all books, the relationship between the Sussexes and the rest of the royals had frozen solid. There was no communication, no trust, no pathway forward. So someone, somewhere, decided it was time to orchestrate a carefully choreographed rehabilitation campaign. They needed the public to see Meghan and Harry in a different light, to forget about the Oprah interview, to move past the Netflix documentary, to overlook the memoir that trashed the family. Meghan's recent trip to Paris was apparently the opening move in this grand strategy. She showed up at Fashion Week looking polished and glamorous, getting photographed with Anna Wintour, kissing European fashion royalty, and basically reminding everyone that she still has star power. Insiders claim this wasn't just Meghan wanting a girls' trip to Paris. This was a calculated public relations exercise designed to show her being accepted by the cultural elite. If she could win over the fashion world, maybe she could win over Britain. The plan allegedly involved a series of strategic appearances, carefully timed leaks to friendly journalists, and a slow drip of reconciliation stories. Friends of the couple were already planting seeds in the media, suggesting that Meghan would return to Britain before the end of the year. They were even joking that she'd be bearing humble pie, ready to apologize and make amends. The narrative was being crafted in real time. Meghan and Harry want to come home. They're willing to compromise. They miss the family. They want their children to know their royal heritage. Behind the scenes, word on the street suggests there were discussions about how to reintegrate them into public life without giving them full working royal status. Maybe they could attend certain events, show up for family occasions, be visible enough to satisfy their need for relevance, but controlled enough that the palace could maintain boundaries. It was supposed to be a win-win situation. Harry and Meghan get their royal connection back, and the royal family avoids the ongoing PR nightmare of a family feud playing out in the media. But here's where it all falls apart. The royal family wasn't actually on board with any of this. Palace sources are now making it crystal clear that King Charles and Prince William never agreed to Project Thaw. This was wishful thinking from Team Sussex and their supporters, not actual palace policy. The establishment plot was more like an establishment fantasy, and it just got crushed under the weight of reality. Harry hasn't given up on his dream scenario, and it's the exact same plan that caused the original Megxit disaster. Half in, half out. He wants to be a working royal when it suits him, collect the perks and prestige, but live in California and do his own thing the rest of the time. Spoiler alert, the royal family already told him this will never happen, and they're standing firm on that decision. When Harry reunited with King Charles last month, palace insiders say he immediately started pushing the half-in, half-out arrangement again. He's been trying to negotiate some kind of compromise where he and Meghan can maintain their royal titles, make occasional appearances at major events, and still cash in on their celebrity status in America. He wants the best of both worlds. The credibility and access that comes with being a working royal, but none of the restrictions or oversight that comes with actually serving the monarchy. The problem is that Queen Elizabeth II already shut this down before she passed away. Her ruling was clear and non-negotiable. No half-in, half-out arrangements. You're either a working royal who follows the rules and serves the institution, or you're out living your private life without using the royal platform for personal gain. There's no middle ground. The late Queen saw exactly where this would lead, and she refused to set that precedent. Now King Charles is upholding his mother's decision, and he's not budging. Royal sources came out immediately after Harry's visit, making it crystal clear that the half-in, half-out scenario is still off the table. They've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It didn't work the first time, and it's not gonna work now. The monarchy can't function with members who want to pick and choose when they represent the crown and when they're just private citizens making deals with Netflix and Spotify. But Harry keeps pushing. He keeps testing the boundaries, keeps floating trial balloons in the media, keeps hoping that eventually his father will soften and give him what he wants. Palace insiders say this is exactly what Project Thaw was supposed to accomplish. Slowly shift public opinion, make people sympathetic to Harry and Meghan's situation, and put pressure on the royal family to welcome them back in some capacity. The strategic leaks from Team Sussex all follow the same pattern. They're offering the olive branch. They want to reconcile. They're willing to compromise. But when the royal family inevitably says no, Harry and Meghan get to play the victims again. Look, we tried to make peace, and they rejected us. We wanted to be part of the family, and they shut us out. It's a manipulation tactic that's getting old fast. What Harry doesn't seem to understand is that the institution is bigger than his personal desires. The monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years because it adapts slowly and maintains its standards. Allowing him to be half in, half out would undermine the entire system, and the royal family knows it. That door is closed, locked, and the key has been thrown away. Here's the cold, hard truth that destroys any hope of Project Thaw succeeding. Harry and Meghan are deeply unpopular with the British public, and the numbers are absolutely brutal. Recent polling from YouGov shows them as the least popular members of the royal family, and the only person who ranks lower than them is Prince Andrew. Let that sink in for a moment. The only royal less popular than Harry and Meghan is the man embroiled in scandal after scandal. That's the company they're keeping in public opinion. But it gets even worse for them. When pollsters asked whether Harry and Meghan should keep their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles, over 90% of respondents said no. Take those titles away. 90%. That's not a divided public. That's not a close call. That's an overwhelming majority of British people who want them stripped of their royal titles completely. These aren't just casual observers either. These are the very people Project Thaw was supposed to win over. The people of Sussex themselves are particularly frustrated. They're looking at this situation and asking a very reasonable question. Why do Harry and Meghan have a title associated with our county when they haven't stepped foot here in years? They don't live in Sussex. They don't visit Sussex. They don't represent Sussex in any meaningful way. They're living in a mansion in Montecito, California, doing Netflix deals and podcast interviews. What connection do they have to the historic county that gave them their titles? Absolutely none. This matters more than people realize. Royal titles aren't just fancy names. They're supposed to represent a genuine connection between the title holder and the region. The Duke and Duchess are meant to be patrons, supporters, visible figures who care about the area and its people. Harry and Meghan have completely abandoned that responsibility, yet they cling to those titles like their lives depend on it, because in many ways their brand does depend on it. Without the Sussex titles, Meghan is just Rachel Meghan Markle, a former actress trying to launch lifestyle brands and sell products. With the titles, she's the Duchess of Sussex, and that opens doors in Hollywood and beyond. Harry is always going to be Prince Harry by birthright, but losing the Duke title would be a symbolic rejection that would hurt their commercial value significantly. The polling data makes it clear that if Prince William stripped their titles when he becomes king, the British public would support that decision overwhelmingly. There wouldn't be protests in the streets. There wouldn't be outrage and backlash. Most people would simply shrug and say it's about time. The statistics prove that Harry and Meghan have burned through whatever goodwill they once had with the public. This is why Project Thaw was doomed from the start. You can't thaw a relationship with people who fundamentally don't want you back. You can't rehabilitate your image when 9 out of 10 people think you should lose your titles. The numbers don't lie, and they're telling a story of complete and total rejection. Meghan's Paris trip wasn't just about fashion and photo opportunities. It turned into a full-blown scandal when people realized her route back to the hotel took her directly through the tunnel where Princess Diana died. And the question everyone started asking was simple. Did she really not know? Or was this a calculated move to generate sympathy and headlines? Meghan's team immediately went into damage control mode, claiming she had no idea the car would take that route. She didn't realize where she was. It was just an unfortunate coincidence. But royal observers and security experts aren't buying it for a second. Here's why. Someone as security-obsessed as Meghan Markle absolutely would have been briefed on every single detail of her travel arrangements in Paris. That's not speculation, that's standard protocol. When you're a high-profile figure traveling in a foreign city, your security team walks you through the entire plan. They tell you which car you'll be in, which route you'll take, where the potential risks are, and what the backup plans are if something goes wrong. Meghan has been vocal about her security concerns for years. She's talked extensively about feeling unsafe, about needing protection, about the threats she faces. So the idea that she wouldn't sit through a detailed security briefing and wouldn't know her exact route is completely absurd. The Daily Mail and multiple other outlets investigated the geography and confirmed that to get from where Meghan was at the after-party back to her hotel, the car would have had to go near or through that tunnel. It's not some obscure back route, it's the logical path. So either her security team took her through there deliberately, or they took an unnecessarily complicated alternate route to avoid it. Either way, Meghan would have known. This is where things get darker. Some people believe Meghan knew exactly where she was going and allowed it to happen because of the symbolic value. Being photographed or discussed in connection with Diana's death site keeps her linked to the Princess of Wales narrative that she's been cultivating for years. She's compared herself to Diana repeatedly, talking about being hounded by the press, being misunderstood by the royal family, being a modernizing force that the institution couldn't handle. Others think this was just careless planning by her team, and now they're scrambling to spin it as innocent ignorance. But the optics are terrible either way. If she genuinely didn't know, that suggests she's not as involved in her security planning as she claims to be, which contradicts everything she said about feeling unsafe. If she did know and went through with it anyway, that's manipulative and disrespectful to Diana's memory and to William and Harry. The British public saw right through the excuses. Social media exploded with criticism. Royal commentators called it tone-deaf at best, and exploitative at worst. And it became yet another example of why Project Thaw was never going to work. Every time Meghan tries to rehabilitate her image, she does something that makes people trust her even less. Prince William isn't playing games anymore. According to multiple reports from palace insiders, he's already set the wheels in motion for a complete and permanent ice out of Harry and Meghan. And this isn't some vague threat or future possibility. The mechanics have allegedly been put in place with the government. The plan has King Charles's blessing, and the moment William ascends to the throne, it's happening. Their titles will be stripped, they'll be removed from the line of succession, and they'll be officially cut off from the royal family forever. This is significant because it shows just how serious the situation has become. William isn't waiting to see if things improve. He's not hoping for reconciliation down the line. He's actively planning for their permanent removal from royal life, and he's doing it with the full support of his father. The message is clear. There's no way back for Harry and Meghan. Not now, not ever. The plan reportedly involves stripping them of their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles through an act of parliament. Now, technically, Harry will always be a prince because that's his birthright. He was born into the royal family as Prince Henry, and even critics agree that taking away his prince title would be a step too far. That's who he is by birth. But everything else? The Duke title, the HRH status, the formal connection to the institution, all of that can go, and all of that will go once William has the authority to make it happen. There's historical precedent for this kind of move, and it involves the most famous royal of all. When Princess Diana divorced Prince Charles, her HRH title was taken away. She was no longer Her Royal Highness. She became Diana, Princess of Wales, but without the formal styling that comes with being a working member of the family. And here's the thing, there was no massive public backlash. People understood it was part of the divorce, part of her stepping away from official royal duties. It was accepted as the logical consequence of leaving the institution. If the royal family can strip Princess Diana of her HRH status without major controversy, they can absolutely do the same to Harry and Meghan. In fact, given how unpopular the Sussexes are right now, there would probably be even less backlash. The polls show that the vast majority of British people support removing their titles. Parliament wouldn't face public pressure to keep them. The government has already worked with William to ensure the legal framework is ready to go. Of course, the Sussex squad and the small minority of die-hard Meghan and Harry supporters will scream and rage about injustice. They'll claim it's racism, they'll claim it's jealousy, they'll claim it's the institution punishing them for speaking their truth. But when you look at the actual numbers, the actual public sentiment, the majority won't have a problem with this at all. They'll see it as overdue accountability. There's one person who seems to be more present in Meghan's life than Harry himself, and his name is Marcus Anderson. If you've been following the Meghan and Harry saga closely, you've probably noticed this man appearing in photo after photo, event after event, trip after trip. He's always there, and people are starting to ask the uncomfortable question: why is Meghan so incredibly close to this man, seemingly closer than she is to her own husband? Marcus Anderson isn't just some random friend. He's a high-ranking executive at Soho House, the exclusive private members club empire that caters to celebrities, influencers, and the ultra-wealthy. He and Meghan go way back, long before Harry was ever in the picture. Some reports suggest Marcus was actually the one who introduced Meghan and Harry in the first place, orchestrating their first meeting at Soho House in London. If that's true, then he's been embedded in this relationship from day one. But it's the current dynamic that raises eyebrows. Marcus has been spotted with Meghan in California, in New York, in Paris, basically anywhere she goes for high-profile events. Royal watchers have joked that he's been in Meghan's life longer than Harry has at this point. The Paris Fashion Week trip, Marcus was right there by her side. The Netflix premieres, the charity events, the glamorous parties, Marcus Anderson seems to be a permanent fixture. Now, there are whispers that Marcus isn't romantically interested in women, which would theoretically make this friendship less scandalous. But that doesn't explain why Meghan seems to rely on him more than her own husband. Where is Harry during all these events? Why is Marcus the one accompanying her to fashion shows and industry parties? Why does it seem like Marcus has more influence over Meghan's decisions and public image than Harry does? Royal commentators have started referring to Marcus Anderson as a very big dark rabbit hole. If you haven't looked into his connections, his role at Soho House, and his influence in Meghan's life, you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. There are questions about what exactly his role is, beyond just being a friend. Is he advising her, managing her image, connecting her with powerful people in media and entertainment? And why does someone with that level of access and influence remain so close to her, while Harry seems increasingly sidelined? Some observers believe Marcus represents Meghan's real priorities. He's connected to the glamorous, celebrity-driven world she wants to be part of. He understands fashion, entertainment, branding, and public relations in a way Harry never will. Harry is the royal connection, the title, the link to the institution. But Marcus might be the one helping her navigate the world she actually wants to conquer. The whole situation is murky as hell, and the more you dig into it, the more questions emerge. Why is this friendship so important to Meghan? What does Marcus get out of this arrangement? And how does Harry feel about being seemingly replaced by another man in his wife's professional and social life? Here's the pattern that keeps repeating itself, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Harry and Meghan's team strategically leak stories about reconciliation, about wanting to come back, about extending olive branches to the royal family. Then when the palace inevitably rejects them, they get to play the victims all over again. It's a calculated PR strategy, and they've been running this playbook for years. Think about the annual Sandringham Christmas drama. Every single year without fail, we get reports from Sussex sources suggesting they might be invited to spend Christmas with the royal family. Maybe this year will be different. Maybe King Charles wants his grandchildren there. Maybe it's time to heal the rift. The stories get planted in friendly media outlets, speculation builds, and people start wondering if reconciliation is finally happening. And then every single year, the royal family makes it crystal clear that Harry and Meghan are not invited, not welcome, and not trusted anywhere near Sandringham. The palace doesn't mince words. They're not coming. We don't trust them with a barge pole. The answer is no. But by that point, Team Sussex has already accomplished their goal. They've gotten headlines, they've positioned themselves as the ones trying to make peace while the cold, heartless royal family keeps rejecting them. This is exactly what's happening with Project Thaw. Sources close to Harry and Meghan keep leaking stories about how they want to return to Britain, how Meghan is ready to bear humble pie, how they're willing to compromise and move forward. Look at us being so mature and reasonable. Look at us extending the olive branch. We just want our children to know their royal heritage. We just want to be part of the family again. But when the royal family shuts it down, which they absolutely will, Harry and Meghan get to tell their supporters and the media that they tried. They made the effort. They were willing to apologize and reconcile, but the institution rejected them yet again. See? We told you they were cruel and unforgiving. We told you they wouldn't give us a chance. We're the victims here. It's manipulation disguised as reconciliation. They're not actually trying to repair the relationship. They're creating a narrative where they look like the reasonable ones, and the royal family looks petty and vindictive. Every rejected olive branch becomes proof of their victim story. Every refused invitation becomes evidence that the institution is cold and heartless. The British public is starting to catch on to this pattern. Royal commentators are calling it out. People are recognizing that these reconciliation stories always come from Sussex sources, never from the palace. The royal family has been consistent from the beginning. The door is closed until there's genuine accountability, real apologies, and proof that trust can be rebuilt. But Harry and Meghan keep pretending they're offering something the palace is unreasonably rejecting. This strategy might have worked in the beginning, but it's wearing thin now. People are tired of the games. They're tired of the manufactured drama. They want either real reconciliation with actual accountability, or they want Harry and Meghan to move on completely. There's one scenario, and only one scenario, where Harry could potentially return to the royal family, and it doesn't involve Meghan at all. Multiple royal insiders have suggested that if Harry and Meghan were to divorce, if Harry found himself alone with nowhere else to go, the royal family might consider taking him back. But even then, his role would be severely limited, his influence non-existent, and his treatment similar to how Prince Andrew gets handled now. The theory goes like this. Harry gets divorced, realizes his Hollywood dreams have collapsed, burns through whatever money he has left, and comes crawling back to Britain with his tail between his legs. At that point, King Charles might show mercy to his younger son, not out of trust, but out of familial obligation. Harry is still his child, still a prince by birth, and the royal family might feel they have a duty to provide some form of support if he's truly hit rock bottom. But here's the critical part. Harry would be swept under the carpet. He'd be there physically, maybe given a grace and favor residence, somewhere quiet and out of the way. He'd be acknowledged as a member of the family in private settings, but he would not be a working royal. He would not represent the crown at official events. He would not have any public role or platform. He'd essentially be treated like Prince Andrew, kept in the corner where everyone knows he exists but nobody really talks about him. The problem with this theory is that Harry is far too vocal to accept that kind of arrangement. Prince Andrew, for all his faults, has largely stayed quiet and out of the spotlight since his scandals. He doesn't give interviews, he doesn't write memoirs, he doesn't go on Oprah or Netflix to air grievances. He's accepted his exile from public life and keeps his head down. Harry, on the other hand, can't seem to stop talking. He wrote an entire book trashing his family. He did a documentary series exposing private conversations. He goes on podcasts and interviews discussing his trauma and his grievances. He's made it clear that silence and discretion are not in his vocabulary. So the idea that he could return to Britain and just quietly fade into the background seems impossible. Even if Harry wanted to come back alone, there's the question of his children. Would he bring Archie and Lilibet? Would Meghan allow that? Would there be a custody battle that plays out in the media? The complications are endless, and the royal family knows it. Taking Harry back would mean opening the door to years of additional drama, and they're not willing to do that. The only way Harry returns is if he's genuinely broken, genuinely remorseful, and genuinely willing to accept whatever limited role the family offers him. And even then, it would be without Meghan, without public duties, and without any real influence. That's not a triumphant return, that's a humiliating retreat. And it's hard to imagine Harry's ego allowing him to accept those terms. The royal family thinks in generations, not in news cycles. While Harry and Meghan are focused on their next headline, their next deal, their next public appearance, the institution is planning decades and centuries ahead. They're asking themselves how decisions made today will impact the monarchy 50 years from now, 100 years from now. And when they look at Project Thaw through that lens, the answer is obvious. Welcoming Harry and Meghan back would be a catastrophic mistake. King Charles and Prince William understand something that Team Sussex refuses to acknowledge. The monarchy survives because it maintains standards, upholds traditions, and protects the institution above individual desires. If they cave to Harry and Meghan's demands now, what message does that send to future generations? That you can trash the family publicly, profit off royal connections, break every protocol, and still be welcomed back with open arms. That's not how institutions survive for over 1,000 years. The public doesn't want them back either. We've covered the polling data. Over 90% of British people want their titles stripped. They're the least popular royals besides Prince Andrew. The people of Sussex feel no connection to their Duke and Duchess. These aren't just bad numbers. These are devastating numbers that make reconciliation politically impossible, even if the family wanted it. Project Thaw was built on a fantasy that enough strategic photo opportunities and carefully leaked stories could change public opinion. But you can't PR your way out of fundamental trust issues. Meghan's Paris tunnel controversy proved that. Every attempt to rehabilitate her image backfires because people don't believe her intentions are genuine. They see the calculation, the manipulation, the constant victim narrative. The establishment figures who supposedly backed Project Thaw were either misguided or never had the palace's actual support in the first place. King Charles and Prince William have been consistent from the beginning. The door to working royal life is closed. The half-in, half-out arrangement will never happen. Trust has been shattered beyond repair. Those aren't negotiating positions. Those are final decisions. What Harry and Meghan fail to understand is that the royal family can outlast them. The monarchy existed long before they were born, and it will exist long after they're gone. Their relevance is temporary. Their celebrity status is fading. Their commercial value drops every time another project fails or another controversy erupts. Meanwhile, the institution continues operating, serving and maintaining public support. Project Thaw was doomed because it was based on the arrogant assumption that the royal family needs Harry and Meghan more than Harry and Meghan need the royal family. The opposite is true. Without their royal connection, they're just another celebrity couple in Los Angeles trying to stay relevant. Without them, the monarchy continues thriving with William and Catherine leading the next generation. The final cutoff isn't cruel, it's necessary. It's the institution protecting itself from people who have proven they can't be trusted. So what do you think? Is this the end of Harry and Meghan's royal connection forever? Or is there still a chance for reconciliation? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and stay tuned because the next video is waiting and you won't believe what's coming next.